Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to this really crazy show that I think we're going to have because anything can happen. I don't think we're going to know what we're going to get with this. We have Picasso Roberts here, who is a medium, a psychic, a wellness intuitive, among many other things. And I met her at a spirit expo here in Florida, in South Florida. And we just I don't know what it was. The spirits were right there with us, but I think we hit it off really, really well and had an amazing conversation. Probably sat there for about a good 45 minutes talking, and I got to know her. And I was just like being poked. You got to ask her to do an interview. You have to.
Welcome to Awakening Soul Divinity, your sacred space for deep healing and transformation. Listen to inspiring conversations with healing experts, spiritual guides, and teachers as we explore ancient wisdom, modern healing, and powerful stories of change. I'll also share practical insights from my personal journey, from spiritual crisis to inner purpose. Whether you're seeking to overcome anxiety, embrace your true nature, or awaken your higher self, this podcast offers guidance to help you transform your life and elevate collective consciousness.
So, welcome, Picasso. I'm really excited that you decided to join me on this journey.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure meeting you. It was so fun when you stopped by my booth. It was a crack up because you were watching and hesitant, and then all of a sudden it's just like boom, okay, you got it.
Yeah. That's usually how it is. I'm an observer, so
Yeah.
I kind of eyeball things until I figure things out, and then once it's there, once that like you did, I got it. Okay,
Yeah.
now I can do this. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I have to ask you though, where did the name Picasso come from?
Yeah, that came from my crazy drunk friends more than 30 years ago.
Wow.
Um, yeah, back in when I was doing an office job, back in the early 90s, whatever, went out for one of those, what the young kids wouldn't know what these are these days, or they were called happy hours,
Okay, and you
right?
can explain it if you want. I think they still have happy hours though, but
Do
go.
they? I
Yeah.
don't know. Well, this was an extended happy hour,
Oh,
and in Florida, and I'm a California girl. That's where my home state is. So,
okay.
yeah, they decided I needed a nickname that night after a couple of hurricanes and many B-52s, and so they came up with Picasso, and I said, "Well, how the hell did you get that? What is that?" You know? And they said, "Well, we gave you Picasso because all the other names were taken." And back in the early 90s, that's when the Ninja Turtles were real big. So all the other names were taken: Leonardo, Raphael, Michelangelo. So they dubbed me the fifth Ninja Turtle.
I get it. That makes sense. But you get to be an honorary Ninja Turtle. How's that?
That's right.
So you're my Ninja Turtle. Okay.
It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started.
Okay.
Can you briefly? I think I had mentioned this to you before, but the point of this podcast is so people can see that everyone's gone through trauma
Oh,
and
yeah.
or some type of catalyst or a challenging experience. And I would like to know if you could briefly share your catalyst, trauma, challenging experience that led you on the path that you're on today.
Well, you know, we all have traumas, and they're just at different levels.
Mm.
And I believe, and many of us who are in this sort of industry or in this on this pathway, that we have the traumas to help us experience challenges and survive them and heal them, and it's part of our life experience. And in I believe that we have them so that we can help others along the way with similar situations. And so, yeah, I didn't start out the way that things are now until about 1994. I died in a boating accident. And
My NDE, I forgot.
yeah, I had an
Yeah,
NDE. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
we can go into this. We can go
Okay,
into this.
yeah.
Go for it.
It was actually, I was working on boats down in the Caribbean. Never in a million years would I have thought I'd ever get to do something like that. But, it's kind of girl I am, just, take a chance. Right. And
Yeah.
so I was working on boats. And when you're working on like charter boats and things like that, your mode of transportation to get to and from shore is a dinghy, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
With an outboard motor.
Right.
And so I was tossed overboard. I was in it by myself, just leaving um, uh, a what is it called? Like a celebration. Somebody had just gotten an engagement celebration off of a larger boat, bunch of crew members, and so I was leaving early because I had to take care of the boat that I have been working on. And so, I'm leaving the boat early and get in the boat, start that. And you never want to untie your line until that outboard is started, right? So
Hmm.
get in, start the outboard, and then I turn around and go back to grab that line so I can be on my way. And then on my way back, the outboard had vibrated the throttle into full throttle, and it reared up and tossed me off the back and proceeded to do 360s over the top of my head. And
Wow.
so it sliced my face, shoved my I just did a lot of damage. Busted the orbit.
Yeah, that we get a little too detailed on that. I don't know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just part
Okay.
of being human.
Right.
So
It's
you know
okay.
what I mean?
It's okay.
It's just part of being human. So I don't want to freak people out, but
Right.
look, we heal. Some of our wounds, our emotional wounds are actually worse than some of the physical things that happened to us.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
survived,
Hmm.
saw the light while I was underwater. It was a beautiful experience. On the other side, I cannot tell you the amount of love and pure peace and just calm,
Hmm.
no fear, no pain, none of that. There was no sound. There was nothing but just being. And I floated around my body while this sort of floodlight was on top of me. And then there was well, I'll call it an arm that it was the size of like the Statue of Liberty. It was huge. And I felt like this big compared to this arm. And I saw the arm come down, or it was there. And then I don't know, I immediately went from being around my body to all of a sudden I'm hanging on to this arm. And I felt like a little pat on the back of my head, like hang in there. I heard this,
Hmm.
hang in there. You're going to be okay. Just hang in there.
I've heard that you're going to be okay thing on my own, but that's interesting.
Yeah,
That.
and then I mean, that was that. My ND is a little bit different than some. I mean, we all have different experiences, but
Mhm.
none of my relatives showed up and all of that. I didn't get the tour through some magical garden. I didn't get, rainbows and roses. But I did get the love. I did get the just that beautiful feeling.
Mhm.
But it didn't all come right away. I didn't realize that's what actually happened for quite a long time
Do you
until
know
it's
how long
sort of,
you were in this? Can look back,
I, I
look?
don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it had to be quite, I mean, I had to be under for a while because nobody could get to me
Mhm.
because the boat was on top of me doing this, and
Right.
it was dangerous for them to even try to save me because it was a large outboard. That's
Mm.
a large propeller, and they were in danger by just trying to reach me.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense. But some of the things I've heard from near death experiences. Now, you're probably the second person I've spoken with who had an NDE. Uh, but I haven't really dug deep into this. I watch other people's podcasts to learn about it. But some of the
Yeah,
things I hear are like life reviews and, what feels like an eternity is just like not that long,
Uh,
when they're going through it. Did you have any of that kind of stuff, or is it just the energetic, the love, the peace?
no, I saw the light, and
Hmm.
I hung out there for quite what seemed like a long time,
Right.
just around my body. And it seemed even brighter because I had a white shirt on that night. And it just was like the brightest light. I can't even describe how bright
Hmm.
there's no description
Yeah.
for it. It was
That's,
brighter than you could imagine.
yeah.
And just hanging out around my body for the longest time, and then looked over, saw that arm, and then telepathically got myself there. There
Yeah.
was no swimming, there was no floating over. It was just like boom, boom, you're there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then I just hung on, and then that was it. Now imagine you're a person, watching this from the big boat that I just got. Not everybody, they saw it happen,
Wow.
and so now they're scrambling, trying to get me.
Hmm.
But one guy got down into the water and couldn't reach me, so they had to get another guy down the boat and into the water to sort of chain link, the arms to try to get me. Now I'm down. So imagine the time. Was it a couple minutes? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting though, it just hit me when you said it. I wonder if that big arm that came down with you was a representation of the arms that reached for you that were actually
You know,
pulling you out. You don't think
no,
so?
I asked much later in life, and that was actually, and that was Jesus.
Okay.
And, and a lot of the NDEers get him in.
Mhm.
Now, look, I'm not a religious person.
Right.
You know, Jesus is a cool dude.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. I
Um,
see that.
and it just, and so that's what I'm told.
Yeah.
And I didn't even bother to ask earlier on when things started happening. I'm like, I have no idea who that was, but whoever it was. And yeah, so later I did ask, and that's who that was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting because another thing that I remember hearing about on the NDEs, and tell me how you experienced this, but um did you have these gifts that you have now before the NDE? So those
Mm-mm.
came from it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's very familiar too. So that's normal with people who've gone through something like this.
Yeah. It happens
Right.
to a lot of us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And do you think that this is another question that I know the other podcast, because I'm curious, I'm interested, in this kind of
Ask.
thing, but
Yeah. Yeah.
um what was your life like before you were brought into experiencing this NDE and then receiving these gifts from it? What was life like? I mean, were you like running up at a brick wall, or life was, or it was great? Some people go through, have great lives, and they still have an NDE. It's not like a shift in their experience, so what was your life like before you had that?
I was having a blast.
You're okay.
I was I was living life. Like
Yeah.
I was in my late 20s, and what was I, 20? That was 1994. I was 29. It would be 29 that year. And I had just was just getting into my second year of sailing, and I had crossed the Atlantic.
Wow.
I had backpacked through Europe, and then come back for my next. That was my first season of being on, charter boats, and then my next season, it was just like, okay, let's do it again. Yeah, I like this traveling and working hard and all of that, and sailing and being in the Caribbean, and seeing all of these different places, and
Mhm.
working hard. Now, that being said, um, I mean, I was thoroughly enjoying it, but I came up in a very traumatic, very dysfunctional and abusive situation
Mm.
coming
Okay.
up. I was one of six kids,
Wow.
and out on my own. I was kicked out of the house at 14. And so I've been working, just working and surviving for, since I'm 14 years old, and I'll be 60 in August.
Wow. That's a lot
Yeah.
of working and surviving.
Yeah.
It's obviously time, right? For a little something a little different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So in within that, within those experiences, uh, they brought you into this, into the work that you do. So from your healing journey, how did it shape the work you do now? And how do you use that work to support others in healing?
So I believe that we're given the people that we can help the most, right? So all of those experiences that I went through coming up, you know, being out on my own early, having been gone through some not nice things
Mhm.
at very young ages. And I'm happy to talk about that if you
Yeah,
need it. But I don't
absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
Yeah. You know
I
what? And that's what's so important. It's because people are going through so much right now. And when
yeah.
they see someone who has been through, especially if it's something similar, even if it's, or if it's not exactly the same, and they see that that person has gone beyond it and healed, that's important. So by all means, go ahead.
I wrote about it in my book,
Okay.
so I am happy to talk about it.
What's the
Doesn't
name of your
bother.
book?
It's called Walking the Way.
And we can add that, we can add a link in the description for that,
Sure.
for your book too. I
Yeah.
think maybe you sent me a link to, but that's okay. I can still get one.
Yeah. My website's down, but my YouTube channel is still up, and people are welcome to reach out and
Okay.
either they could buy it on Amazon or they could buy it just by shooting me a message and saying, hey,
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so on my own at 14, I was uh, I was raped at well, I must have been 15. I think it was 15 or 16. I had been molested by my grandfather, and it was just like male figure after male figure after male figure after male
Wow.
figure. It's like, you know, the little, not little, but grandiose abuses kept happening. But I'm a survivor. And
Hmm.
so I learned to overcome, but
Yeah.
it hardened me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And I see a lot of that in young girls coming up. It's really in my face right now. So I have people around me who I can feel it, I know it, I see it. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
I recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got through all of those things. Ended up getting my GED at 17, I think I was 16 or 17. And because I just knew I had wanted to go to college, and I knew I needed that GED at some
Hmm.
point. And then I just moved around, um, just kind of floated to, different places. I lived in Hawaii for a little while, came back to California. I moved in Washington. I'm a mobile person. I'm very good mobile. I
Yes.
grew, and according to my chart, my astrological chart, apparently that's something I'm supposed to be doing. So
Hmm.
I do it well.
Okay.
Um, but so here's what I believe. I believe that the things that I went through, they come to play when it comes into the work that I do now. So helping women overcome situations where, they've been, wrongfully abused or taken advantage of or whatever, working on their self-confidence. I feel it's important to, if somebody's willing to listen and do the work, I think it's important to lend that hand.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, if they're not willing to put the effort, you cannot help them.
Mm-mm.
It just can't be done.
I
It can't be
understand.
done.
I
And so
understand.
you have to just let them do what they need to do.
Right.
And that's a hard lesson.
Yes, I know. I've had that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I was actually a massage therapist. That's how I started my thing. And these people came in and they loved the massages, and I'd give them, and I was studying everything. Like if I had a symptom, I would type in the word holistic after whatever the symptom was so I could learn about it and see what it was and all this kind of stuff. So I got excited because I was learning all kinds of things at that time. And then when I shared it with them, not just women, all my clients, it was like, yeah, that's great, and then when they came back, I said, well, did you try it? And they're like, well, and I was so passionate about having them try these things because I tried them and I knew they worked, but they wouldn't do it. And it frustrated me and to no end for years. And then finally I got the 2x4 on the head. Stop it. We're not supposed to be here to, but I got a few of those. So
Yeah.
I understand that theory.
Yeah, and it's hard to watch, but
Yeah.
I too was a massage therapist. Went back to school at the age of 40, and got my associate's degree in massage therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It it was what a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
what a
loved it.
great
I loved it.
experience.
Yeah.
Me
Now,
too.
I'm curious, why do you believe we even have trauma in our life?
It's to have that life experience. We need to, we're here. It's like school. It's
Hmm.
human school.
Hmm.
And it would be truly boring if it was just monotone,
Right.
right? We're here to experience everything from every different aspect.
Hmm.
So karmically, if you are married to, say, a man that takes you out of poverty, and then in another lifetime you'll do the flip flop and
Yeah.
you'll experience pulling somebody out of poverty. It's
Hmm.
just we have these experiences so that we understand what it is we're doing here. It's to grow our soul. It's
Hmm.
about elevating the soul and its progression just so we can be more expansive.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I'm curious also though, like because you had an NDE, I'm sure you have an answer for this one.
Oh,
Do we die?
no. Silly girl.
What does that look like? Because in this country, we're both in the US, and there really has never been any type of connection with death. Like other cultures are very connected to all the cycles of life, and we are not. So there's a huge fear. I mean, there's the two biggest fears I think are death and public speaking. So you got the extreme life, and then you got the extreme opposite, and those are our two biggest fears. So can you go a little bit deeper into that?
Yeah, who was it? What was the woman's name? I want to say it was either Doris or Dolores Roberts. She was a medium over in the UK, and she coined the term or the phrase, "You can't die for the life of you." And
Okay.
yeah, what an amazing medium. But yeah, no. So everything is energy,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So your soul, your being is energetic, right? It is energy, and so it in that frequency or in that vibration, we slow our frequency down, our vibration down, in order to create the human form.
Hmm.
Now, when we leave and drop the body, it's the soul separation from the shell, basically.
Hmm.
And so the energy doesn't die;
Hmm.
it carries on. And it just it will come back. You will come back if you're
Right.
choosing another lifetime. It's not like immediate. It's like, oh, I'll go. I'm coming back in, guys. I'll be right back. It doesn't really happen that way so much,
Yeah.
um, in my opinion. But somebody could prove me wrong, and that's okay too. But yeah, that's basically how it is.
And it's what's really interesting about that description is I just watched a movie based off of again another podcast that I was watching, and it's called Astral City, and it takes place. I don't know when they did it, but it takes place in pre World War II times in I want to say Portugal. Can't remember.
Okay.
It's a they speak Portuguese, but they have the English subtitles. And it basically says that in this. I mean, it gives you this entire story about the process of how we go through physical death and what happens to our spirit. And it was so, I mean, it hit me so deeply. And there was such an intense energy. And that's the thing, that's the other thing. Energy, everything's energy. I think you said that. I know, I realize that. I'm also an energy work practitioner. I've done that in my life. So I always feel, things. I feel them. I don't see them. Sometimes I hear them. Sometimes I know, but feeling is my thing. And
Yeah.
what I've learned is that in that, the fact, well, as a massage therapist or as an acupuncturist or, any types of those things, we have energy running through our body too. And
Yeah.
more of our body and why we need to drink water is because of the energy going through our body, and it helps us to it can help us to heal, it can help us to meditate, it can help us to connect with the earth and the whatever the higher power, whatever you bring into it. But it's so interesting to me how they went through this process of this man dying and what happened to him and how he grew. And apparently on the other side, according to this movie, we don't stop growing. It's like we come to this earth, we have traumas here on the earth, we have things happen to us here on this earth, but we don't go to hell. We go to an in between place, but they still give us the opportunity to continue our work. It's not like we're done, we're stuck, we're burning, whatever. It's not like that. We've been taught that, a lot of us. But according to a lot of people, it's not like that. So what do you think about that?
I say exactly that's correct.
Cool.
So
Hey.
there was uh, and I'm also a movie person too, but I read the book also. So when I was first starting to learn about, all of this,
Mm.
I don't know what the heck where to start or anything, but I started with Reiki. I started the massage school. I started with Reiki. And then once that opened the door, it was all over. Everything
Yeah. Yeah.
started, coming in. It's like, okay, she's ready now. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yay.
But the book that I read was Celestine Prophecy.
Yeah. Okay.
And okay, so what they did is they created a movie and the visuals, because I'm a visual person, and so
Mhm.
the visuals they gave about what a soul looks like, that energetic being as you're moving through a space.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be dead to get it.
Mhm.
You don't have to be, halfway there to understand it. You can just enter in a room, have a seat, and then wait for others to enter the room. You'll feel that energy of that other person entering the room.
Mhm. Mhm.
You can feel, even though you don't see somebody behind you, you know somebody's behind you,
Mhm.
right? Um, and I mean, it's energy. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to the basics of it, look at your Chinese medicine, the yin and the yang, and
Mhm.
those energy lines, those meridians, and how they're connected to organs, how they're connected to emotion, how everything moves. Um, I want to say
Symbiotically.
thank you, that's the
That
word.
it? Okay. Cool. I had it.
It's such a beautiful thing. And here's the thing too that I want people to remember is that we don't just have trauma here in this life. We have beautiful things happen to us
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
mean, yesterday it was a kind of a rough day at work, but I came home, opened the sliding glass doors. We had the most amazing rainstorm here
Mhm.
yesterday. It was just lovely. And just to listen to that nature just
Yeah.
coming down and the
Yeah.
earth soaking up the water. I mean, it was just gorgeous,
Yeah.
just gorgeous. So remember all those little beautiful moments too, not just focusing on the traumas and the things that we get through, but look around and there are some really cool things to be seen.
Yeah. And it's actually more helpful once you've been walking through the trauma and breaking through the trauma to be able to pick up on that stuff more easily. When you're in it and you're struggling in life, it's not easy to see the little things like, oh, by the way, I breathed today. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. Oh, I got to walk in nature today and I saw a bird doing, whatever. That kind of stuff when you've been in a lot, or you have PTSD, or you've been through a lot at the beginning of the journey, it's not easy, and it's not, there's nothing wrong with you. There's
Right.
nothing wrong with you. It's part of that process, but it's also good to understand that that is not an easy thing to connect with at the beginning because you don't know how. And when you watch conversations like this, you learn how, and then you're like, oh, okay. And a lot of people have like these experiences that they don't believe, you know? And like you were talking about that energy behind us. You said you can feel whatever, and there's people behind us or whatever that is, people, anything, animals, So I'm wondering though, does spirit actually try to speak to us?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All the time.
Are they poking at us, trying to get us to,
Yes, all the time. Are you kidding? I have clients that are like, why won't my so and so come and, show themselves to me? Or I'm like, dude, did your lights just go on and off? Right? So energy can move energy.
right,
They can move energy.
right.
And so yeah, I could feel them first, right? This is so interesting. This is a good question because when if you will pay attention to whoever's listening, if you catch this, when you get goosebumps
Mm,
that move through your body and up your spine, and you're like, "Ooh, what's that?" That's spirit. Are you kidding me? They're excited, and that's them just coming in a little too quick, right?
yeah, well, that's happening right now with me, but it's not goosebumps, it's a shiver. I can feel
Yeah,
it going
it's the
on.
same. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's spirit.
Yeah.
So somebody just moved up on you, and
Yeah.
exciting and really, really cool.
Yeah.
So once you understand their little signs and symbols for kind of showing themselves, that would be a spirit guide, by the way, that just did that to you.
Yeah.
Um, I set boundaries. I learned to set boundaries in the beginning. Not so much. You can't do that to me. No, I love it. I love the energy.
Yeah.
So I determine. I get when I feel somebody. I understand that my family members and people I know are on my left. My clients' people are on my right. And then
Interesting.
my master guide
Yeah.
stays behind me and support. And then my team, they stay behind me. And it's just so I can determine, it's my way of being able to determine who's who. Who do you
Interesting.
belong to? Who do you, oh, okay, I smell beer. I smell stale cigarettes, stale beer, stale cigarettes.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. Is that, and then I'll ask straight away, who does that, are you mine? Not really, because I feel it over on this side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or I smell it or I taste it, and I'm like, all right, so you're going to show yourself. And so I'm open, but don't, I can't give a message right out in public, like, bombard somebody. I don't do that.
Right. And
I
I've
don't do
talked to a lot of
that.
mediums who don't. They won't do that because the person might not be ready for it, and it's
You
kind of
don't
damaging.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't know what that person's been through in that
Yeah.
day. So you have to work ethically. But I get hitchhikers along the way, I call them. So I'll be driving in my car on my way to somewhere, and all of a sudden, spirit will come through and, give me a little nudge and have a little chat. But I'll tell you that for anybody who's listening, if it's uncomfortable, because they're not here to make us uncomfortable. They're
Hmm.
here to be supportive and helpful, and they want to let people know they're okay, that there's more, and everything's okay. You're going to be okay. It's all right. That if people could just relax
Hmm.
and either listen, but if it's freaking them out, just tell them, hey, listen, now's not a good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
or if you lay down to go to sleep, that's when in the beginning, they got real chatty with me, like everybody was excited. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
shut up.
I think we just opened something here because I have been doing the last couple of weeks, I've been working more deeply in ancestral healing. And I have my altar with like 3 generations of family on both sides. And that shiver that I got up me is still happening. Usually it just comes and goes, but right now it's still happening. So something's
Yeah.
open. But I want to ask because I have no idea. I don't know the depths of it. I know I've had experiences where I'm with people and we're talking about a family member that died, and I would start getting like these chills on my arm with them, both my arms, just my upper arms, and up into my neck. And I would say um, it the first time that happened, it was some woman, and we were at some kind of event like you and I had met at, and I said, well, is it possible that your dad might be or your husband? It was her husband that died, and I'm like, I think he wants to talk to you. And I told her I've never done anything like this before, and I've only done it a few times, but I said I keep getting the feeling because I don't hear things, right? I keep getting the feeling that he wants you to know that he's okay and that it's time that you start moving forward. And she was like, well, first I asked her if it was okay if I shared it with her. I did do
Yeah.
that. And she's like, I have been trying to figure that out a lot recently because I feel so guilty for wanting to move on with my life. And I'm like, oh, whoa, okay. So coming back to my own, it's like for me, it's interesting how it's easier for me to connect someone else with that because for me, like you were talking about your main guide, that's one of the things that we learned about in the last class last week. And for whatever it is, I've been told by people that I have guides. I've been told I have a Native American guide. I know the name. I've been told I have certain other guides. I'm not specific to who my main guide is. I'm like, what is that? Who is it? What's your name? Or do you have one? And are you the one who's with me now? Because I've heard they change also throughout your life. It doesn't necessarily stay the same. Can you kind of elaborate on that, or am I? Or here's the big question: or am I just crazy? No, I know I'm not.
Well, we all a little crazy.
Yeah, crazy. You gotta be. Yeah.
All a little bit crazy. Yeah, no, it definitely they come to us in different at different times. Depend upon where we're at in our progression.
Okay.
So most definitely, that's funny. I'm hearing.
Did you just pick up on something? Is that what's
Yeah, they're funny.
happening? Okay.
So yeah, anyway, okay, I'll tell you in a second. But so
Now you got me. What?
oh, they're just saying you girls are some twisted sisters.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
the way it is, and that's the way we are because we can get an understanding of it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So here's the thing: we have different guides for different reasons. Names are mostly only important to us humans.
Yeah.
There is, when I started channeling back in, I guess it would be right around 2005, oh 05, oh 06, in that time frame. I had one that came through, a spirit that came through during my Reiki attunements, right?
Okay.
And he was a real goofball. He was native, but he messed with me, like um, helping me to understand where my ego was and where it was not,
Mm, that's
right?
tricky.
Right? Because you'll believe anything, Picasso, just because I tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was desperate to understand
Yeah.
things
No, I
and
get
to,
that.
like help people. So I had a lot of hard lessons
Yeah.
in that. And it was funny, but it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Um, but so, and then so once I got through working with him, Others came along the way. When I got my master attunement, five approached me. I called them the five gifted ones. I
Mm.
never asked for names. They came
Okay.
through. It was four masculine and one feminine.
Mm.
They popped in. I was with my Reiki master and two other women, and they popped in and started channeling through me, and it was just really, really cool. They spent some time with me, and then and then more and more. Now, here's what I learned, because I get this question a lot. How do I meet my spirit guides? How do
Mm.
I know who it is that I'm working with? Who are these people?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So what I learned is I learned to go to what I call the upper room. And I learned this from Janet Nohavik. She was a famous medium, ex-Catholic nun from New Jersey, just a phenomenal mentor,
Interesting.
phenomenal
Okay.
teacher,
Yeah.
but hard. She was hard, like,
That's the training, right?
stern.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the training.
this is not a game. We do
No.
not giggle and laugh in the, when you're learning platform mediumship, you can't wiggle.
Hmm.
You just you have to behave. And it's really hard for me to do. But I learned something called I learned something called an upper room meditation from her, and it's basically you walking yourself into a sacred space. So if anybody wants to see this, I can send you the link for it. I redid one that she did for us on YouTube. So if anybody does YouTube puts in Janet Havoc upper room meditation, it'll come up. And then on my YouTube channel, I did it also upper room meditation. It's mediumship by Picasso on YouTube. So you're basically walking yourself into this sacred space. So you see a door, right? Notice all the details about the door. Put your hand on the door, turn the handle, open, see yourself walk through, close the door behind you. Notice all the details about that space. I look to the left, I see that space to the left, create all the details, what it looks like, what it feels like, what textures are there, what's the smell there. And then I look down at my feet, and I never wear shoes. I hate shoes.
I do
So
too.
I look down at my bare feet are on a hardwood floor. And so that's what the floor looks like to me. So I notice all the little details, what color it is, what it feels like. And then I look up and I see at the other end of the hallway is a room. It's a space with a table. For me, it's a round table. And then all these chairs, about 10 or 12 or so chairs around that table. And I put myself down, I walk myself down to that table, pull out a chair, and I have a seat. And then this is my sacred space. And I open up to spirit. I'm like, all right, guys, I'm here. I have questions. I like to call in my master guide, or I'd like to call in any guides or loved ones that would like to sit with me for a moment and share some healing energy, share some information as I grow. Help me go through this. And then I wait. And then, my eyes are closed.
Mm.
I'm in that space, right? I'm in that space. And then I see who shows up. Right? I see who shows up. Sometimes it's Native American, sometimes it's a monk, sometimes it's a wolf. I have a shapeshifter that goes from animal to human. And I do a lot of work with Edgar Casey. So Edgar Casey comes in. I do a lot of work with Dr. Elizabeth Blackwell. She comes in. I work with Ruth Montgomery. She comes in. She was an author, very famous for being the author of she did the autobiography of Jean Dixon. And then she created automatic writing and all of this
Mm.
stuff.
Okay.
Famous, famous author.
That I can get answers through the automatic writing, but go ahead.
Yes. And then so it is just another form of energy
Hmm.
working with energy, moving the pen on the paper,
Hmm.
right? Moving the pen on the paper. So when I'm there in that space, I'll write down a question. I'll say it telepathically. I don't have to say it out loud because we're speaking telepathically. And I write down the answers, and they are so helpful. You know, I know my master guide is behind me because I feel him.
Mm-hmm.
Big ass, huge, ginormous dude. Um, Very powerful, a wicked sense of humor, very funny. Laughs.
I think you channel his wicked sense of humor.
Oh, he's hysterical. Let me just tell you. Yeah. And laughs his ass off at me. Let me just tell you, it's
Yeah.
just funny, but also so supportive and
Yeah.
so helpful and so healing. So I'll sit in that sacred space for as long as I need to. And then when I'm done, I'm finished, I'm ready, I get up, I push my chair in, I thank everybody for coming, I thank them profusely for the support and the kindness and the loving energy. And then I'll see them again, and I turn around and I go back to the door, open it, close it, walk through, close it behind me, and that's that,
Mm.
right? And that's the experience. Do you need a name? Okay, you could get a name if you want a name. You could make one up yourself and say, hey, listen, Master Guide, I'm going to call you, you know, Pinocchio, whatever.
You
I
can't
mean,
take that.
whatever you want.
Yes.
That is really up to you. They'll give you a name if you ask them to, just really up to you.
Yeah, it's I have tried those things so many times, and I don't know if it's because I'm stubborn, I don't know what it is, but I know they're there, and I talk to them when I'm talking on my, altar. There's just like I can't tell who my main guy, my main man, woman, whatever is. I can't tell. The only person I've ever really known that was there was my dad because I can smell him, and my
Yeah.
grandfather because I can smell him. The rest of them I get feelings about. And in this course that I'm the ancestral healing course I'm taking, they're teaching us at this right now at this point to separate the ones that are in a good place with the ones that are still working through their stuff. So we want these people to help these people or me to help these people or whatever that is. But I still can't tell. Like I get these feelings. I don't know who it specifically is or what, and I've tried something similar personally like that, but it just doesn't seem to register in my psyche or wherever it's supposed
Try,
to register.
try doing it without expectations.
Yeah.
Try just show up and sit in the energy with them
Yeah.
and feel them come in.
Yeah.
Get the image if you can. If you can't, don't worry about it. I feel you. I feel you. And then ask, what do I call you? How do I know it's you? And then that first thing that floats to the top,
Mm-hmm.
that first name will be the non-ego,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
non-ego taking a step in and going, oh, okay, that person's name is Julia or Javier or
Right.
whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the expectations just go in without any.
Yeah, yeah, and what's interesting, I don't know if there's like I'm sure there's plenty of people who have these questions.
Oh,
um,
sure.
is there a block? Is there something that's keeping this from really like it comes and goes? Or sometimes when I do automatic writing, it's like all of them are there. It's not just one particular or three particular or your group that you have that come. There was a book he wrote where he talked about having his counsel. He talked to a bunch of people. The things that he talked about, I still can't remember the name of the book. Maybe we'll figure it out and I'll put it in the description. But he used to do that. He used to come together at a table and pull the people in that he thought could help him. And the thing is what I do understand is that we're all capable of doing it. It's like,
Yeah.
why is it so difficult? And especially in my mind, for me, why is it so difficult for someone who's so open to all of this stuff and is so wanting to be connected with it? Why am I having such a hard time? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who have this experience. So what could you tell us about that?
You're connected.
Yeah.
You're just overthinking it. You're
Well, that's
overthinking
me.
it.
It's an overthink. I understand that.
Yeah. Um, I I would I would let go of the need for all the controllable details that you don't need to control. Sorry.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
Sorry
that
about
where have I
that.
heard that before? Hello. Yeah, that's like my whole life.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So, when you sit down and start automatic writing, the light's on
Mhm.
and the moths to the flame, they're coming in.
Yeah,
So if it's too many, or you only want one or two specifically to step in, then you have to say, you have to set the boundary. It is your job to set the boundary. You have free will, right? They're not going to overstep that free
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah.
It's not how that works.
Yeah. And that, I mean, that I've learned. I mean, a lot of us don't really understand like free will's bigger than what we think it is, I think. What I do know is that they don't. That's like you ask for help, but unless you're even ready for it, I don't think that they're going to do that until you're in a space for it either, right? Is that how?
And it's divine timing too. So, you can't really drive the bus
My favorite
all the
divine
time.
timing.
You can't drive the bus all the time. Here's the thing, we eventually get what it is that we need. And look, it hasn't I get in the dips also, right? I mean, some serious holy shit, am I going to be able to crawl out of this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And not all that long ago.
yeah.
But it wasn't until a little spark of faith,
Mm,
minute. I mean, let me just tell you. And I cuss at my guides like nobody's business. Like, I'm not flipping gonna go through there has been enough struggle.
mhm.
I'm done. Stop it.
Yeah,
Just
like why
stop
did
it.
I pick this life? What is this? Why did I pick the worst possible scenario to go through?
Oh,
That was the other part of the question I was going to ask. Is like first that why did I pick this particular curriculum in the school, and how do I heal myself from it? Because I'm tired of doing it. I'm done. I just want to be done, and that doesn't, it's not exactly the way it works,
yeah.
I don't think.
There's not enough faith in yourself. You have plenty of faith in other people, but
Yeah.
there's not enough faith in yourself. So you have to look within
Mhm.
to get through that.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And it's
It's
not as
very,
bad as it used to be. So don't get me wrong on that, because I
no,
have
no.
more faith in myself, or I wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you at
Yeah,
all. You know?
exactly. No,
So,
no.
but yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly. No, I totally understand that. And there are a lot worse situations, let me just tell you,
Mhm.
that we could all be in. I mean, there's a lot.
Mhm.
And we've survived a lot
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
get to where we are now.
Yeah.
Right.
But it
Um,
actually helps with everything else that's going on. Like, for example, outside of all the experiences that I've had,
mhm.
has been because I've worked through them, has been keeping me centered, which for someone who's had PTSD my whole life is like, I mean, normally this much agitation on my nervous system, I would have lost it. Now
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I know that once you've done the work, that it's easier to deal with this kind of stuff and start opening to this stuff
And
like you're
that's the
talking
thing that people don't want to do the work as much. I mean, we're getting there,
about.
There is an awakening happening. There is that I know well, there's a shift. Oh my God, there's a shift. Like there's always a shift. Like
Yeah.
because we're always progressing. There's always something happening in the world. There's always have stuff happening with the human experience. Um, but you have to be willing to rely on yourself
Hmm.
and have faith in yourself
Hmm.
first. It's like put your oxygen mask on first,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
just back to basics,
Yeah.
and then you can help others.
Yeah.
I'm going to share something I learned. I work with a collective called Michael, and it's the Michael teachings. And they were channeled back in the probably late 70s, I think it was. 1,050 souls came together to help us better understand what we're doing here, what our the role is that we, took on in this lifetime, what our major obstacle or our challenge that's at the root of our life lessons in this lifetime. Um, just a few little hints and bibs and bobbles just to help us get an understanding about soul age and soul progression. And while you were off using the ladies' room, I'm like just checking in with Michael real quick. I'm like, all right, so tell me what's the deal? What's her soul age? What's her role? What's her this? What's her that? With that. So of course you're an old soul, or we wouldn't be having this conversation. Now as an old soul, our focus is on giving back. Like,
Hmm.
how can I help? What can I do for you? How can I make things better?
Hmm.
Right? That's our focus. Um, the role that you chose in this lifetime is that of a priest. And that's not the collar priest. This is about the spiritual welfare of others. And that is what you're doing. So you are right on the flipping mark. That's the role that you chose in for this lifetime. Mine is warrior. I'm good at getting shit done. Yours is priest. You're here to help people with their spiritual understanding, right? Their
Okay.
welfare, their spiritual welfare. You're doing good.
Thank you.
Um, the goal that you have in this lifetime is that of acceptance, right?
Yeah.
Agape, yeah, total
Acceptance of,
everything.
okay.
Just
Just the way it
accept.
is. It is what it is type of acceptance.
Understanding that
Oh, Lord.
you don't have the control
Oh,
and
God. Okay.
accept it. Yeah, accept. Yeah, it's your goal, right? Uncomfortable, isn't it?
Accept, surrender, acceptance, surrender.
Have faith.
You
Accept.
know, I have to share this with you. I'm going to read you the mantra that I read every morning,
Okay.
and I think you'll understand. Okay. I accept and surrender what was, what is, and what will be without resistance and with trust and faith, providing me with ease and grace, knowing God is always with me as me, and I am divinely loved, supported, and protected.
Beautiful.
Is
That's
that,
beautiful.
is that on the mark?
It's on the mark.
On the mark. Okay.
You
Okay.
can't make this shit up.
Can't make this shit up. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
The mode that you're using to get to acceptance is through observation.
Oh my God. You're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know
There
what
you
human
go.
design is?
No.
It's another thing where it can look at your personality and who you're supposed to be through the Kabbalah, through astrology, through a whole bunch of stuff. And I am what's considered a self-projected projector. And one of the things, so I have to talk to get to my decisions, and and part of how my makeup is an observer.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just validating what you're saying. That's all.
Yep. Yep. Now, here's the one thing that is it's mine also. We have the same one. They call it, Michael calls it a chief feature or a major obstacle, how we learn our lessons, right? It'll be at the root of our lessons, and that is martyrdom. And martyrdom is, it shows itself in we're overgivers, right? We give and 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 we give. Then we give some more and then more and more. We give some more. And then it throws us into a state of victimization.
Mm.
And it's just like that swirl of like, and that's when we know, like, oh crap, okay, all right, hang on a second. I
Mm.
know what this is. I'm almost 60, and so it's taken me, it's a whole lifetime, right, of all of that. But if we learn to set our boundaries and saying no is okay, it's okay to say no. Or to say, you know what, that just doesn't work for me.
I've gotten better at that. It's
But,
this whole last year has been my training ground for that. So yeah,
yeah, it's okay to sit there and don't give it. You don't have to give reasons and
yeah.
so sorry. No, not sorry. Just it doesn't work for me. No. And boy, is no uncomfortable to somebody who's got martyrdom as their chief feature.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like, oh, but I could just
Yeah,
mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. I
It
know.
wouldn't hurt me to just help. No,
I know. Trust me
no,
on that one. I know. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Anything
there you
else? Thanks. That was it. Okay.
go. That's it.
All right. Wow. That is like dead on to everything that's been going on. So I'm validating that what you just said was 100% on target in the process of my life and in like what's happening right now. So thanks for that. I appreciate it.
That's Michael.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks, Michael. So that now that we've gone through all this and you've given an example of how you do your work for me, which is much appreciated, I
yeah.
want to jump into these couple of questions so people can kind of get an idea of who you are and help maybe get some guidance from you. But what do you wish you knew when you started your healing or awakening journey?
I wish that I knew what all the energy meant
Mm-hmm.
because I was bombarded.
Right.
And I didn't know what it all was. And so I had to go through all the things that I had to go through as part of the journey. And it was just part of the journey. But it would have been nice to have, like, a heads up, like, hey, this means this, and, that means that.
Okay.
And you're going to
Yeah.
see these colors, and that means that. And you're going to feel that. And yeah, it would have been nice.
But
Yeah.
I think we all want that in some way, right?
So my master guide's patting me on my on my head.
My dad used to do that with me. Maybe he's my master guide. Who knows?
Um,
I don't think so. Okay. How do you see individual healing work contributing to the larger societal transformation?
I mean, it's individual is just as important as anything else because, one step at a time, one soul at a time,
Hmm.
sometimes, just helping one other soul have an understanding of what it is that they're going through and
Hmm.
that they're going to come out the other side of it okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It might not look the way you want it to look like, but it'll be all right.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting once you do get on the other side, it doesn't seem to matter anyway because it feels good.
It doesn't
That's what I'm finding. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It
Doesn't
just
matter.
yeah, don't get
Yeah.
all wrapped up in your shit. It just doesn't
Don't get
matter.
wrapped up in your shit.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Your priest say that word. Okay. How do you define awakening?
I would say define awakening. I would say allowing yourself to breathe in spirit is probably my best definition of awakening. It's just allowing and that blending really with you and spirit, your soul energy, your theirs, and allowing that blend. That's that magic moment of coming together. And yeah, it's all about the blend, baby. It's all about the blend.
Blend, baby.
And
Right.
blending with spirit is such a beautiful, it's like,
Yeah.
aha, I get it now. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Okay. How do you understand or experience the concept of source or God?
It is
Especially
source.
now that you've had, or not now, but since you've had an NDE, it's a little different, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, you could, I don't, use the term God, but more source makes sense to me because it's universal
Hmm.
and it's love and what it is, It is not one religious symbol. It is the all-knowing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're all connected, and hopefully
Yeah.
a lot more people will understand that soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now this one's really important to me because I notice I'm seeing it online more and more people talking about it. What are your thoughts on the divine feminine, and how do you believe its energy will support us in the future, especially in relation to the divine masculine? That makes sense?
Mm. What feels like to me is, huh, and you're asking the right person for this because I've had a lifetime of masculine energy giving me things that I did not want,
Hmm. I know.
challenges that
I know.
I could have done without.
Yeah.
Um, and so to me, through my experience, that lower vibrational masculine energy in my lifetime um, was fear-based
Hmm.
and oppressed the divine feminine. And now the divine feminine is rising up and taking on that position, energetically speaking. I believe that if women would, step forward and be okay with supporting women and knowing there's no hidden agenda typically. I mean, we all have our stuff, don't get me wrong. We've all got our stuff.
Can you hear the thunder?
Oh yeah, I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's good timing. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, so the divine, I keep hearing Mother Mary, Mother Mary, Mother Mary, Mother Mary. And that feels like at the root of the divine feminine.
Hmm.
Very powerful. And Kuan Yin, I'm seeing Kuan Yin, I mean, goddess of compassion. There are so many that we can lean on as we move forward, as we're learning, as we're growing, and not to be squelched and shut up by any masculine energy
Hmm.
ever again,
Yeah.
ever
Yeah.
again.
Well, I'd like to clarify something though. Like to me, there's a difference between the divine masculine and patriarchy. So I think that like with the divine masculine, I think that there's a lot of men that I'm meeting now who have this balance of feminine masculine energy. And they are going through the same thing too. Like I heard that once we as women are able to come and heal and come into our power, then the divine masculine, those that are doing their work will know how to support us. But right now, because of the things that are going on with patriarchy and things like that, that it's challenging for all of us right now. So it's almost on the feminine, on the Mother Earth, on, I mean, she's like waking up going, not so much, and I feel like the women are doing that too. And I'm not talking about the fighty type of thing. I'm talking about the receptive. I'm talking about the holding space type of, it's being able to
Mhm.
create a container for the balance, I think, of the true divine masculine and the divine feminine, rather than, keeping us separate, because we're separate too. They're trying to separate us from every angle, I feel, and they've been doing it. And I only said that because that's just something it looks like. I watch it all the time, and it's like, stop it already. We're not meant to be
Yeah.
separate. But that
It
kind of, I mean, does that ring true with you at all when
it
I say that? Or
it feels like as you're speaking, I keep getting shown 2026. It feels like 2025 puffs out like a porcupine.
yeah,
Yeah, right. And then the needles drop into 2026.
I've I've heard a lot of that's
It
interesting. Yeah, I've
feels
heard a lot of people.
very like we don't have to make excuses anymore.
Right,
We don't have to explain ourselves anymore,
right.
and
Yeah.
all of that. And I feel like there's something in that.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm no expert. I'm just telling you what I hear.
Okay.
I don't know, passing the message.
Yeah, but and you're validating everybody, other people that I've heard say the same thing. It's like this year's not going to be so comfortable. And
Yeah,
then once we get on the other side of it, as long as we're doing our work and as long as we're not getting caught up in the midst of all the chaos, and we kind of just stay within ourselves and connected, how we connect both with a higher power and Mother Earth, through our hearts. Once we do that
Yeah.
heart healing, that it's going to shift things for us. But those, which is sad to me, those who don't understand that will potentially get caught up in the porcupine, and it's not going to feel good. I think we're all going to get caught up in the porcupine, but it's just knowing that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the porcupine train, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of what it feels like to me, and I keep saying that. It's like, yeah, it hurts, but something feels good on the other side. I don't know what that is, just something feels good, right? So,
Yeah.
and I'm not a psychic, maybe. I don't know, but
Yeah. 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 You are.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think we
You
all
are.
are. But you know what I mean? I'm not a working psychic. I just pick up on things on my own. I don't usually share it with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just remember words are very powerful, and you
Yeah.
are a psychic and you
Yeah.
are a medium, and own it, and it'll get a little bit easier.
Okay.
So just so you know,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
okay.
Thanks for that. All right.
Yeah, sorry.
How can people get in touch with you?
They can reach me through right now it's just my YouTube channel. My website's down for the moment until I'm ready to create another one. I feel like I want to do something different. I haven't found out what that is yet. It will reveal itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can. People can reach out to me on Mediumship by Picasso on YouTube. Shoot me a question on one of my videos there, and like and subscribe if you like it. If you just subscribe, help me build the channel, and or shoot an email to PicassoRoberts53@gmail.com, and they can book sessions. They can, this is all the opportunities are all there.
All there.
I'm always at a Spirit Fest event where they're at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and also with that, I have the links that are going to be, like mentioned, I think I mentioned before, it'll be in the description, and I'm going to
great.
have a link to her book in the description. And tell me the name of the book again. I wrote, oh, Walking the Way. Yeah. I think that's what there we go. That's what drew me to your table, because
That's
that's
what it
kind
looks
of,
like.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
So what's interesting is the artist of the cover. Um, I found her, I don't know, I crossed paths with her online. I loved her artwork. And so I contracted her and I said, hey, if I give you a story that I've written, could you paint something? I'd
yeah,
like it to be my book cover.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she did. Her name is Rena Cotier. She's in New Zealand. Um,
Wow.
she's an amazing artist.
Well, you've got it behind you too. I see on your
Yeah,
wall. Is
that's that's
that the
that's
actual painting?
that's the painting.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that is amazing. I love that. I love
yeah.
that.
She's
Wow.
done a couple things for me, and so yeah, I really I like it a lot. I like her work. Beautiful.
That's great. That's great. Okay, so
Yes,
if you could offer one piece of advice to someone just starting their healing journey, what would it be?
laughter. You're going to come across things that are going to upset you and make you break down and crumble and want to go into the cave forever and a year. But find a way to find that spark, find a way to laugh a little, because laughter and joy are higher frequency
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So joy is an emotion that just you can't squelch joy,
Yeah.
and that joy heals the heart,
Yeah.
right? And so if you can find a little humor in, along the way, it will help to get you through it. Make fun of shit, because this human experience is not easy. Is not easy. It is so much easier on the other side. Let me just tell you.
But now's
But
not the time to go,
but you're here for a reason.
but you're here for a reason. Yes.
Stick it out, do the work, walk back through the gunk, and just to get through it, because you're here to help other people as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm. And that's why we're here on this podcast, is because that's, you went through what you went through, and now you're here helping other people, and
Yeah,
you're guiding them along, and that's the point. That's, at least that's the way I see it.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Um, I would just, I would just say, listen up, people. No,
Listen up.
listen up. Just lighten up,
Yeah.
right? Lighten up because, our world is changing. There's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-mm.
So you can fool yourself and kid yourself about, all the things you think, how the world is supposed to be. So just relax and just lighten up.
Yeah, it takes a lot to figure that out. Trust me. Okay. Well, thank you, Miss Picasso.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you
Thanks for
being.
having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And maybe we can do another one of these at some point that's like strictly the work that you do, and see what happens with that one.
Ooh,
So
it'd be my pleasure.
yeah, I think that would be fun. And then people could like really get a taste of it. But anyway, thanks for being here on Awakening Soul Divinity. And I look forward to seeing you on the next go round. Take care. Peace.